You got challenges that you're going to run across.
I think it's phases, man. It's crazy how it all go down. Like I think that one, I've always been a go-getter hustler. Like I said, I've always made money. You know, if it was shooting pool, shooting dice, if it was whatever it was. So I've always said I'm gonna basically make sure I can do what I want to do. But I think the moment I got shot, and after that, I think that's when I kind of my psyche changed to the point of, bruh, whatever you want to do it, because life ain't promised. Mm-hmm. At 18, I really changed my mindset to know what, do all you can do because you just don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's crazy because at one point, Tony, this had to be about 8 years ago. I started making a list of all the cats I knew had got killed or died. Right. And I had about 28 dudes on that list at the time. And this was years ago. So from that standpoint, I was like, you know what? I gotta live life because again, I'm seeing this. You know, I'm seeing it firsthand that you out with your boys and your life could have been taken just going to Popeyes. Yep. So I'm like, I gotta live. So that was one of the first things. Probably the next thing, man, is, and I talk about this, is with my mom. I was on my way back to Southern one time, and my mom she came out to the porch, and I didn't even know. I don't even know if I had money in my pocket, and I only had maybe a little bit over half a tank of gas, and I was like, shit. I said, I think I can make it to Baton Rouge, though, you know. And so my mom came out on the porch. And she say,
"You gonna try to make it over the punching train, or you have to go over the punching train to get the back?"
Yeah, man, but you ain't gonna spend that much gas.
You don't want to get stuck. You don't want to run out of gas over there. Ain't no way you can pull over on the side.
Hey, yeah, you basically. But you know, my mindset, Tony, I've always been like that, bro. I'll tell you, Tony, you don't want to try that, and before you know it, I'm going to do it. Yeah, you know, I was always that cat. Because the thing about it was the mystery behind if I'm gonna make it or not intrigued me. Right. That was my thought process. So I went on and took she came out on the porch and she said, "You good? You straight?" You know, and I say, "Well, yeah, I'm good. You know, and so knowing I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to ask her for anything. And then she said, "Well, I got $10 if you need that." And bruh, that was a turning point for me, because I tell people that was an hour and a half drive that seemed like 6 hours, because I just kept saying to myself, man, and I always get emotional every time I tell this. I always say it, man, I never let my mama have $10 to give her only son to go back to college. Right. Not to go out to a party, bruh. Not to go hang out. Her only $10 that she said she had to give me to go back to college. And I just kept saying, but I'll never let my mama live like that again. You know, I never let her be in a position to only have $10. You know, and I think that was one of the things that when we talk about wise not letting you quit no matter what, you know, that was big for me. Mm-hmm. And then I think the last thing, man, it was the guy that taught me taxes. We were walking one day, and I think I might have been saying something about my mom, and he stopped me. He just stopped me in my trade. He said, "B, man, you think mom and pop too much." No, he said you gotta stop thinking mom and pop. And bro, when he hit me with that, you know, and I always say it's crazy the things you remember. You know, when he hit me with that, he said, "B, you gotta stop thinking mom and pop." And bro, I swear.
This is when you was doing fair time. This when you was.
Oh, yeah. This is when I was doing the fair time, and we was walking on the compound, and we were talking, and he hit me with that. I was telling him about something. I think it was something with my mom, and he said, "Man, you got to stop thinking mom and pop." Bro, when he hit me with that, bro, that it woke me up, because I thought I was lightweight killing the game a little bit, for one. Mm-hmm. But then secondly, it changed my whole mindset to why not, Brian? H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, all of them have multiple locations around the country. Why not you? Mm-hmm. And that was my whole mindset. Why not you? You know, and so it took for him to challenge me to stop thinking small.
Right.
In order for me to come home and say, well, know what? If I open up one location, why I can't open up two?
Yeah, another one.
Right. If I open up two, because at one point, I was up to 11 locations.
Wow.
You know, and so
I want to talk about that too, and really kind of go into a little more detail on those 11 locations. But I want to ask you this while we're talking about taxes. What do you think the biggest tax loophole that people do not take advantage of, that the government says is here, and that the wealthy take advantage of, or somebody who's just learned and who understands it? What do you think most people don't take advantage of, and it's right there in writing?
Understanding the LLC and S corp elections and things like that, and because this is one of the things this is why all these rich and successful and congressmen, everybody have corporations, because they run everything through their corporation. It's the biggest legal loophole that's out there, to run everything through that, especially with an S corp, because the S corporation, you pay half the taxes than any other.
Why don't more people talk about it? If you remember, and the time that you did, when I met you in the gym, we got together that year, and you did my taxes, and I had an LLC, and you said, man, you need to be an S corp. I remember that. That was 2013, 14. Right after that, though, is when they came knocking on my door, and it had nothing to do with you.
I want to say, don't say me.
That's why I didn't go any further with you. When you did my taxes that year, that was great. I mean, you did it perfectly. But 6 years before that, and the IRS has a way of just letting you go, and then they'll come later on and knock on your door. They came, and at that time, I should have probably pulled you in the conversation, but I thought I was going to handle it myself, because the person who was doing my taxes, who kept telling me, Tony, you're making too much money now. It's getting a little bigger for me. Why don't you change? And that's when I changed to you. But for 6 years, I did, and she kept telling me that. She's like, and I'm like, I trust you. You know how that's what people go with. I trust you. Yeah. So I never moved to another tax person. And so it messed me up totally. And so I'm still clearing up a lot of that now. I didn't bring it to you because you didn't do it. But the year I brought it to you, I thought about, I should have done that years before that. And she kept telling me that. She was like, Tony, you making too much money now. You need to let somebody else handle this. And I'm like, no, I trust you. I was going with, a person, like you got to give a person a shot. You know how LeBron gave his agent a shot, who never was an agent. So I'm like, I'm keep you out. I really should have. But, and I kind of left that alone, and I kind of left you alone after that. But yeah, so explain, if you can, to a person, the difference in the S corp and the LLC. And you got to talk in layman's term, because well,
you know what? That's one of my gifts, man. That's why I've been so successful. That's why I get so many clients when I speak, because what I think I've done a great job is really being able to break this down to where people really understand. Because most people I talk to understand S corp. They don't understand, but they heard of it, but they don't really know how it worked. And so the reason why I say it's a loophole, because Robert Kiyosaki talked about this in his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, 25 years ago. He put that in the book. But everybody skipped over chapter 17 when he talked about corporations, mainly because corporations are not sexy.
Right.
So
and
everybody...
you think of corporations with big buildings. Yeah.
That's what you think of, like, I ain't big enough to be a corporation. But I tell everybody to do a LLC. A LLC is a limited liability company. It's the easiest entity to form. And the reason why you want to do that, because if you're not a LLC, then you are connected directly to the business. You are connected directly to the business. So that means if the business gets sued, you get sued personally. Any liability the business have, you have that liability. Mm-hmm. So you want to form the LLC, because the LLC actually separates you from the business. So that means if the business gets sued, I don't get sued personally now. Right. But you still have to pay the double taxes, because on a sole proprietor, you pay double taxes. On a single member LLC, you still pay the double taxes, but you have the protection of not being sued. Now, this is where the S corp comes in at. A S corporation is what we call a flow-through corporation, meaning that everything that you make from the business flows through. I don't care if you make $1 million, you pay no business taxes at all. And that amount, so if I made $1 million and I wrote off 500,000, that other 500,000 rolls through the business. It flows through the business. You might hear the term pass-through entity. What it does is it passes through the business. The business pay no business taxes, and then you get taxed on what we call a K1 on the personal side, on the personal level, which is the lowest tax rate. Plus, you don't pay the extra taxes because any other platform, you pay what we call self-employment tax. You don't pay that when you're an S Corp. So you cut your taxes by 15.3%, which can be significant. And so this is one of the biggest loopholes that you don't have to be a big business to do and understand. And you don't have to change your LLC. They have what they call an election, meaning that I can be a LLC, so I don't have to have a board of directors. I don't have to have meetings. I don't have to have minutes. I don't have to have any of those. And then I say I'm going to do election to be taxed as an S Corp. So I'm an LLC that's being taxed as an S corporation, which I'm getting the best of both worlds because the LLC is simple to form and to run. And the S Corp gives me the best tax break. And that's basically one of the biggest loopholes out there, man, that we just don't know about.
Does most tax preparers know about it? Or are they afraid to bring it up? Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.